Have you ever reached out to someone too soon and ended up regretting it? Or maybe you stayed silent for so long that the moment to reconnect slipped right through your fingers. Timing, it's the secret weapon no one talks about when it comes to breaking no contact. Getting this wrong can turn a second chance into a missed opportunity, or worse, push them further away. But when you get the timing right, everything changes. This video is about unlocking the perfect moment to break no contact, when you don't just reconnect but you flip the script so they start chasing you. Because here's the truth, no contact isn't magic on its own. It's a strategic pause that sets the stage. But if you jump back in too early or wait too long, you risk losing all the power you built during that silence. Think of it like waiting for the right wave to surf. If you paddle too soon, you wipe out. If you wait too long, the wave passes you by. But catch it just right, and you ride smoothly, effortlessly, straight to shore. In this video, I'll show you how to read the signs, how to sense the subtle shifts in energy that tell you they're starting to miss you, and exactly how to break no contact with confidence and purpose. This isn't about desperation or manipulation. It's about reclaiming your power and making sure your comeback is unstoppable. So if you've been wondering when the right time really is, stay tuned, because the moment you choose to reach out could change everything. They say silence is powerful, but when it comes to relationships, especially breakups, it's not just powerful, it's psychological warfare. No contact isn't about ignoring someone to be petty or playing childish games. It's about disrupting patterns, emotional patterns that have kept you in a place of chasing, overthinking, and giving away your power. Here's what most people don't understand. When you suddenly pull your energy back, you create a psychological void. Humans are wired for connection, routine, and emotional feedback. When that loop is broken, when someone who is always texting, checking in, or reacting suddenly disappears, the brain scrambles for answers. That space you create doesn't just go unnoticed. It becomes loud, it becomes haunting. And that's when they start to feel your absence in the deepest way. What's fascinating is that the brain doesn't like uncertainty. So when you stop reaching out, they begin to question everything. Were you ever really that into them? Did they lose you? Are you already with someone else? Their mind fills in the silence with their own fears and insecurities. And if there were feelings there, real feelings, your absence starts to hurt more than your presence ever did. Even more powerful, no contact gives you time to detox from emotional dependency. When you're constantly checking your phone, hoping for a message, you're not healing, you're still addicted. But the longer you stay silent, the more clarity you gain. You stop reacting, and you start observing. You begin to see the relationship for what it really was, not just what you were afraid of losing. Psychologically, this is the moment when roles begin to reverse. You're no longer the ones seeking closure or validation. Now they're the ones feeling the void, the loss, the confusion. That's why no contact isn't about revenge or manipulation. It's about restoring balance. You reclaim your value, your self-worth, your presence. And when done right, it sets the perfect stage for reattraction, not through pressure, but through mystery, confidence, and emotional gravity. Coming up next, we'll break down the critical signs that you're not ready to break no contact, so you don't sabotage the power you've just created. Let's get real for a second. Just because you miss them doesn't mean you're ready to reach out. In fact, if the only reason you're thinking about breaking no contact is because you feel lonely, anxious, or afraid they're moving on, that's the first red flag. One of the biggest mistakes people make is using no contact like a pause button, thinking they can go silent for a few weeks, then pop back in and magically fix things. But here's the truth. If your emotions are still running the show, you're not re-entering with power, you're reacting from a place of fear. And fear-based decisions almost always backfire. So how do you know you're not ready to break it? If you're still checking their social media obsessively, hoping to see signs they miss you, you're not ready. If you're secretly hoping they'll reach out first, just so you can get the validation, you're not ready. If you're planning your message and rewriting it over and over, trying to make it perfect because you're terrified of rejection, you're not ready. Here's a hard truth. Reaching out from emotional desperation sends the wrong energy. It doesn't say, "I'm healed and in control." It says, I still need you to feel whole. And that's not attractive, it's heavy. Real readiness feels different. It feels calm. It feels like detachment, not in a cold or uncaring way, but in a grounded, self-assured way. When you're truly ready to break no contact, your motivation isn't to get them back. It's to open a door if they're still worthy of walking through it. If you feel like time is running out, or that they'll forget you forever, pause. That's a scarcity mindset talking. No one forgets someone who made an emotional impact, and if they do, they weren't meant to stay. You owe it to yourself not to rush this, because once you break no contact, you don't get to undo it. And if it's too soon, too forced, or too emotionally loaded, it can ruin everything you've been building in silence. Next, we're going to talk about the signs that they might actually be missing you, and when the timing starts shifting in your favor. One of the most common questions I get is, how do I know they're starting to miss me? The silence can be unbearable. It makes you question everything. Did no contact even work? Are they over me? Should I have said something sooner? But here's the thing. When no contact is working, you probably won't hear from them immediately. It's not silence that means it's failing. It's silence that means it's working. The first sign they're starting to miss you is subtle. They linger. Maybe they haven't reached out, but they're still watching your stories, liking old posts, or leaving a digital footprint where they know you'll see it. It might seem random, but it's not. These small actions are low-effort ways to remind you they exist, and to test if you'll take the bait. Another hidden clue. They bring up your name in mutual circles. If your friends or people you both know start saying things like, hey, they were asking about you, or they mentioned something you used to do together, that's not casual. That's them fishing for emotional feedback without having to make the first move. But perhaps the biggest sign, and one people often overlook, is emotional projection. This shows up when they start posting cryptic quotes, emotional songs, or nostalgic throwbacks. It's not always about you, but if the timing aligns and it seems unusually reflective, it's often a sign they're processing your absence. And sometimes, those posts are directed at you, especially if they're not typically someone who shares emotional content publicly. You might also notice a sudden shift in how they present themselves online. Maybe they start posting more selfies, getting back in the gym, or showing off a "look how happy I am without you" lifestyle. Don't be fooled. These changes can be a form of overcompensation, a way to hide the fact that your silence is getting to them. When someone feels your absence, they often try to reclaim control by looking like they've moved on. But deep down, that performance is rooted in emotion. An attention-seeking behavior is often a sign they're hoping you'll break first. And then there's the dream factor. You'll start dreaming about them, not because of magic, but because emotional energy is a real thing. When two people are connected, even loosely, shifts in one person's feelings can be felt by the other. It's your intuition picking up on changes in the emotional field between you. Here's the bottom line. When they start missing you, they won't always come running back immediately. Most people sit in their pride and wait. But the signs are always there, in what they do, in what they don't do, and in how they try to get your attention without reaching out directly. Pay attention to the patterns, not just the silence, because sometimes it's the quiet moves that speak the loudest. Stay with me, because next we're breaking down exactly what to say when the time is right to break no contact. So you don't just reconnect, you reignite attraction. So the moment has finally arrived. You've done the inner work, you've stayed silent long enough to shift the dynamic, and all the signs are lining up. They've started to miss you, and you're finally ready to break no contact. But here's the part most people mess up. What you say matters just as much as when you say it. Your first message shouldn't sound needy, bitter, overly emotional, or like you're fishing for validation. And it absolutely shouldn't be a full-blown love letter. The goal here is not to dump your feelings on them. It's to reopen a line of communication in a way that feels calm, grounded, and emotionally mature. So what should you say? Keep it simple, low pressure, and curiosity driven. A short message that hints at something light or neutral while leaving the emotional door slightly cracked open. For example, hey, something reminded me of you today. Hope you're doing well. Or, I came across that old coffee place we used to go to, made me laugh. Hope everything's good on your end. The key here is tone. It should sound like you're someone who's at peace with the past, who isn't chasing, and who has no agenda. This kind of message triggers intrigue. It makes them wonder, why now? Do they miss me? Are they really okay without me? And trust me, if they've been feeling your absence, this small message will feel massive. It opens a safe space for them to respond without pressure. It also gives them a glimpse of the new you, calm, composed, and emotionally in control. Now, what you don't want to do is open with heavy emotion like, I've been thinking about us a lot and I miss you so much. Even if that's how you feel, that kind of message comes from vulnerability that can tip the scales back in their favor. You want to re-engage in a way that makes them lean in, not back away. Also, don't ask questions that sound like you're checking up on their life, like, are you seeing someone, or do you still think about me? Those are traps. They put you in a position of seeking rather than leading. Instead, your job is to spark curiosity and let the connection rebuild slowly and naturally. And here's a secret. Your message isn't really about the words. It's about the energy behind them. If your message comes from fear, guilt, or desperation, they'll feel it. But if it comes from confidence, warmth, and emotional clarity, that's magnetic. So take your time, breathe, then send something light, honest, and open-ended. If they respond, great. If they don't, you didn't beg, you didn't overextend. You stayed in your power. Coming up, we're diving into the most common traps people fall into after reconnecting. Mistakes that can undo all your progress if you're not careful. You've made it this far. You stayed strong through no contact, chose the perfect time to reappear, sent the right message, and now they're responding. But this is the moment where many people sabotage themselves without realizing it. The comeback isn't just about making contact again. It's about maintaining your position, your power, and your emotional balance. One wrong move, and everything you built during your silence can collapse. When someone responds, your instincts might scream at you to say everything you've been holding back. The emotions, the memories, the unanswered questions, all of it. But rushing to pour your heart out, even with good intentions, can overwhelm them. The person on the other end is still testing the water, not jumping back in completely. Flooding them with emotion too soon often triggers a defensive reaction. They pull back, shut down, or lose interest. You may feel relief that they replied, but this isn't the time to seek closure, reassurance, or full-blown resolution. Another common mistake is pushing for clarity too fast. Asking things like, where do we stand, or do you still care about me, puts them in an uncomfortable position. People need time to process their own feelings without pressure. By demanding answers too early, you shift the dynamic back to one where you're seeking and they're deciding. Instead, allow the conversation to flow without attaching meaning to every word or expecting an instant resolution. There's also the trap of slipping right back into old behaviors. This can happen without you noticing. Maybe you start texting them all day, giving too much, making them the center of your emotional world again. But if they sense nothing's changed, if you're showing up the same way you did during the breakup, they'll feel like the story is just repeating itself. What makes them reconsider you is seeing that you've evolved, that your energy feels different, that your life is full, with or without them. Another mistake, forcing connection. Sometimes the spark isn't instantly there again. Maybe things feel awkward, or their energy is a little colder than you expected. Don't overcorrect by overperforming. Trying too hard to reignite chemistry can come across as insecure or unnatural. Let the energy rebuild slowly. Give space for authenticity to come back. Trust that the tension and pull can return if you stay relaxed and grounded. And perhaps the most important thing to remember, don't lose yourself again. No contact wasn't about manipulation. It was about reclaiming your center. So don't fall into the pattern of making it all about them again. You're not here just to be accepted. You're here to observe, to evaluate, to decide if they still match who you are now. The strongest comeback isn't loud, it's steady. You don't chase, you allow them to move toward you. Stay tuned, because next I'll show you how to flip the dynamic completely, so they're not just replying, they're drawn to you, craving more, and wondering how they ever let you go. Getting a response after no contact is a win, but it's not the end goal. The real shift happens when they stop passively responding and start actively chasing you again. And if you've done the groundwork correctly, this is where the dynamic flips in your favor. But here's the truth. Getting someone to chase isn't about playing hard to get. It's about being someone worth chasing. Attraction isn't triggered by constant availability. It's triggered by uncertainty, mystery, and emotional value. When you show up calm, self-assured, and non-reactive, they start to feel something they haven't felt in a while. Curiosity. Curiosity leads to emotional investment, and emotional investment leads to pursuit. So how do you create that shift? First, you mirror their energy, but just slightly less. If they message you in the morning, respond in the afternoon. If they give you short replies, don't compensate by sending long paragraphs. The key is to show interest without being too available. Let them feel your presence, but don't flood them with it. That little gap in energy is where desire grows. You also need to re-establish emotional contrast. Remind them subtly of the parts of you they were originally drawn to. Not through words, but through your vibe. Maybe you're out with friends, traveling, creating, laughing again. Let them see your glow up without rubbing it in their face. That emotional shift says, I've changed, I've evolved, and I'm not just sitting around waiting. That's powerful. Another way to spark pursuit is by holding back just enough emotionally. Be kind, be open, but don't give them full emotional access right away. Let them earn it. Let them feel like they're peeling back layers of the new you. Slowly. People value what they have to work for, especially when they know they once had it and lost it. You also want to reframe the story they tell themselves about you. If they ended things thinking you were too emotional, too available, or too reactive, your calm confidence now shatters that narrative. They're forced to reconsider. They wonder if they misjudged you. That doubt creates intrigue, and that intrigue leads them to reinitiate contact, dig deeper, and try harder. Timing is everything. Don't rush emotional conversations or try to recreate the past. Instead, create a new present. Invite moments of connection that are fun, light, and unexpected. Emotional attraction is built through contrast. Letting them feel the loss, then reintroducing your presence with subtle power. Be someone they can't predict. That unpredictability, paired with your growth, is magnetic. And finally, don't chase back once they start showing more effort. Hold your ground, respond warmly, but don't collapse your boundaries just because they're coming closer. Let them keep leaning in. Let them do the work. Because the more effort they invest, the more value they place on re-earning your presence. Up next, I'll share my final thoughts and how to stay in your power for the long haul, no matter what happens next. By now you understand that breaking no contact isn't just about rekindling something with them. It's about reclaiming something within yourself. This journey isn't about proving your worth to someone else. It's about remembering that your value was never lost to begin with. If you're going to reach out, reconnect, or even reconcile, it needs to come from a place of strength, not scarcity. Reclaiming your power means shifting your focus away from what they're doing and turning it inward. How you respond to silence, how you carry yourself when they show interest, how you choose not to over-explain, over-give, or over-pursue. These are all quiet declarations of your worth. Power isn't loud, it's steady. It's found in restraint, in boundaries, in the confidence to walk away if what's being offered no longer aligns with what you deserve. It's easy to think that getting them back is the win, but the real victory is being in a place where you're not afraid to lose them, where your peace isn't dependent on their presence. That's the shift that changes everything. Because once you stop chasing approval, you start attracting respect. And when you truly believe in your own value, people feel it, even if you never say a word. This is also where your choices become more intentional. You stop asking, do they want me? And start asking, do I even want them back in my life? Not from bitterness, but from clarity. From knowing that love without respect, without effort, without alignment, just isn't enough anymore. You've made it through the hardest part. You held the line. You grew in the silence. Now the question isn't if you should break no contact, but how you want to carry yourself moving forward. You're not here to re-enter their life the same way. You're here to return with power, grace, and standards. No matter what happens next, whether they come back or stay gone, remember this, you didn't lose them. You found yourself. And that changes everything. Alright, let's quickly recap what we've covered today because understanding these steps is key to making your comeback. Not just successful, but truly empowering. First, timing is everything. You can't just break no contact out of loneliness or fear. You have to wait until you're genuinely ready, emotionally grounded, and confident in yourself. Then, recognizing the signs they're starting to miss you allows you to strategically open the door without rushing or forcing anything. When it comes to reaching out, simplicity and calm confidence are your best tools. Keep your messages light and curiosity-driven, not needy or overwhelming. Once they respond, avoid the common traps that so many fall into. Don't over-explain, don't push for clarity too soon, and definitely don't fall back into old patterns that got you here in the first place. Instead, stay steady, hold your boundaries, and let the connection rebuild naturally. The ultimate goal is to shift the dynamic so that they're the ones chasing you. You do this by maintaining your value, showing emotional strength, and letting your new confident energy speak louder than words ever could. And above all, reclaim your power. Know your worth, prioritize your peace, and remember that you're not defined by anyone else's choices. So, what do you do next? Take a deep breath and reflect on where you are right now. Are you truly ready to break no contact? If yes, start with that simple message, light, genuine, and open-ended. If not, give yourself more time. Use this time to grow, heal, and build a life that you love, regardless of what happens with them. Remember, this isn't just about getting them back. It's about becoming the best version of yourself. Stay patient, stay strong, and keep your standards high. Your power is your greatest asset.